Okay, so picture this. You're handed command of an army, but the battle is already lost. That is exactly the situation Khalid Ibn al-Walid found himself in for his very first mission as a Muslim commander. Welcome to part 3 of our series, where we're going to dive into one of the most brilliant military bluffs in all of history. And just so you know, all of this is based on the amazing work of Austin University professor Dr. Roy Casagrande.
Just look at these numbers, seriously. 3,000 men going up against 20,000. I mean, you can't even call those bad odds. That's a suicide mission, plain and simple. And yeah, this is exactly where our story kicks off.
So let's really put you in those shoes for a second. The battle? A total disaster. Your commanders are dead, your lines are completely breaking, your entire army is about to be just wiped off the map. Then someone shoves a banner into your hand and basically says, "Good luck, it's your problem now." So, what do? What's the plan?
And this wasn't some thought experiment. This was the grim reality for the Muslim army back at the Battle of Mutah in 629 AD. The fight was pretty much over before our guy was even given the job.
The situation at Mutah was it was a complete domino effect of failure. The first commander goes down, then the second one falls. Suddenly, all the leadership is just gone. And you're left with this terrified, leaderless army staring down certain annihilation. And right into the middle of all this chaos steps maybe the most unlikely hero you could possibly imagine. A guy who not too long ago wasn't even on their team. And this is where it gets really interesting. You got to appreciate the irony here. Just 2 years before this, Khalid Ibn al-Walid was on the other side, fighting against these exact same guys. Now, he's a brand new convert to Islam, and his very first job is to save the men he used to call his enemies.
So let's be super clear about this. At this critical moment, Khalid is the new guy. I mean, brand new. Everyone knows he's a military genius, sure, but all his famous victories were for the other team. And now, as his first real test of loyalty to his new faith, he gets handed this impossible mission.
Okay, but to really get what's happening here, we need to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this wasn't some simple Romans versus Arabs fight. Oh no. The whole political landscape was way more complicated. It was really a clash of Arab cousins. See, the two big superpowers of the day, the Roman and Persian empires, they didn't always like to get their own hands dirty. They both used Arab tribes as proxy forces. So the Romans had the Ghassanids, who were Christian Arabs. The Persians had the Lakhmids, also Christian Arabs. What this means is that the army Khalid was up against wasn't just Romans, it was packed with other Arabs. Basically his own people, just fighting for a different flag.
So Khalid looks at the situation. He knows he can't win in a direct fight. That's just suicide. But if he tries to retreat, his army will get cut to pieces from behind. He's totally trapped between two awful choices. So what does he do? He comes up with a third option, a brilliant, genius deception.
His plan was it was pure psychological warfare. It was brilliant. During the day, he takes small groups of his soldiers, marches them behind a hill where the enemy can't see them, has them swap their banners, and then they march back over the hill like they're brand new reinforcements. And he just keeps doing this over and over. Then, at night, it gets even better. He tells every single soldier to light not one, but like 5, maybe 10 campfires each. Suddenly, his tiny, beaten-up army looks like a massive, fresh force ready for battle.
I mean, it's an incredibly bold bluff, right? But when you're facing a massive, victorious army, a bluff is pretty much all you've got. The big question, though, was, would it work? Would the Romans actually fall for it?
And it worked. It worked perfectly. The Roman commanders look out. They see what looks like wave after wave of fresh troops arriving. They see this huge field of campfires at night, and they pause. They hesitate. They're probably thinking, wait a minute, this isn't the tiny, broken army we were just crushing. And that tiny moment of hesitation, that was everything. That was the window Khalid needed to save his army.
Which brings us to what might be the most incredible fact in this whole story, coming from Dr. Casagrande's work. This battle, this retreat from Mutah, is the only battle Khalid was ever in command of that he didn't actually win. And why is that? Because he was put in charge after the battle was already lost. Think about that.
So in a weird way, you could argue this battle he didn't win was actually his most impressive victory of all. He didn't take any ground, no, but he conquered an impossible situation. He saved an entire army from being completely destroyed. This was the world's first real look at his absolutely extraordinary military genius.
And this incredible genius for survival,
Well, it was about to be unleashed on the offensive. In our next explainer, we're going to see how Khalid takes the same brilliance and does something that no one in history had ever managed to do before: unify the entire Arabian Peninsula.
Hey, if you thought this story of pure tactical genius was as cool as we did, do us a favor and hit that like button. And make sure you subscribe to Spotwork Learning, because you are not going to want to miss part 4. Seriously. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.